This is the Dery Brothers TribeCast, a podcast for diehard Cleveland Indians fans. Presented to you by WaitingForNextYear.com. Now, here are the hosts, Matt and Todd Dery.
All right, let's do it, everybody, on this Sunday night. Another edition of the Dery Brothers TribeCast, brought to you by our friends at WaitingForNextYear.com. Matt Dery, Todd Dery with you. Boy, the boys are swinging the bats, playing better baseball, and obviously right back in the thick of this thing, Todd. 11 and a half back weeks ago, now 2 back after a 9-5 loss today to the Kansas City Royals. Yes, we will get to the Trevor Bauer antics and circus that took place today. Tito coming to the mound and asking him what the hell's wrong with him, and we cleaned that up. It was fantastic stuff. Andre Knott will be our guest coming up in a little bit from Sports Time, Ohio. Todd, I dubbed him today on Twitter the best sideline reporter, on-field reporter in Major League Baseball, and I think that's a fact.
He's fantastic. I mean, I'll say this about Andre. What he's so good at is, and I want to discuss this with him, is he is not afraid to go at the players. Yes, you can tell that they all like him and respect him, but he's not afraid to give his opinion. He is no corporate shill whatsoever. He's very fair, and he does a great job, and you can tell that the players all respect him, and that's not easy to do in this day and age. And that's for sure.
And you know what Andre does? He's on the field, and he talks about baseball. They're not sending him to Permane Brothers in Pittsburgh to try the fries on the sandwich. Yep. He's not up in left field interviewing John Adams. And God bless John, but you know what I mean. I mean, he's talking baseball, and today when the Bauer thing went down, Andre was all over it and said, "I saw him. You know, he was talking to the players in the dugout. He hugged Mercado and apologized to him because, you know, number one, he threw the ball towards him. Whatever. Andre's really good, and he's going to join us coming up in a little bit. But it's an exciting time. We're getting into early August. This team is back. Jose Ramirez is back. The pitching's been really good. Today was a toe stub. But all in all, a 5-2 road trip, Todd, and feeling good again about this team.
The way they're playing, take away today's game. I'm just going to take that away. They've been playing such clean baseball, defensively, offensively, pitching. Everything has gone according to plan, and it's a beautiful thing to see. They're playing exciting baseball. They're not winning every game 2-1 like we thought that they were going to have to. They've actually been hitting, and a lot of this, and you can literally, if you go back, I mean, we got the numbers in front of us, right? So, you know, they're 33-14 since June 1st. You know, they're in a 29-11 stretch. But the key to this entire thing is the fact that since July 1st, Jose Ramirez has become Jose Ramirez again. Since July 1st, he's hit .348 with 9 homers and 25 RBIs in 22 games. And he has 18 extra base hits in his last 20 games. You know how hard that is? And so
and he homered in every game this weekend, which I know he pulverizes the Royals like Hunter Dozier pulverizes us, but man, every game he hit one, and he wasn't just hitting a couple of cheapies. He was racky-tacking the ball.
But that's the thing. All of a sudden, this lineup doesn't look nearly as bad as it normally had most of the year, when the superstar players, Frankie Lindor and Jose Ramirez and Carlos Santana, are doing what they're supposed to do. And it's not a coincidence that they're playing their best baseball of the year when Jose Ramirez is playing his best baseball of the year. It's not a coincidence.
No, not at all. And by the way, we are brought to you by our friends at Groove Ride. That's Groove Ride, RYDE, and also the Center for Advanced Dentistry, Dr. Ben Hornstein and crew. Again, Andre Knott coming up a little bit. Tribe loser today, 9-5 to the Royals. But if you look at it, 2 out of 3 in Toronto earlier in the week, and then 3 out of 4 in Kansas City. Really enjoyed a nice Saturday night over at a friend's house last night, watching the Tribe on the big screen outside, and they just smoking the Royals. It starts with pitching, Todd. We can go over and talk about Jose all we want. We're going to get into the Bauer thing. We're going to get into the schedule, Jose, trade deadline rumors with Wednesday. And, of course, Danny Salazar all of a sudden is back, and they're ready to have him pitch. I'm not sure when and where, but, his 30 days of rehab are done. But, pitching still is the name of the game. And people can say, well, the White Sox are coming and the Twins are going to be good for a while. Oh, Cleveland's window. This Cleveland window stuff is bullshit because of the young pitching. And we saw it with Clevenger Saturday, with Plesac Friday making diving catches. This team's got some good young arms. That's why they're talking about trading Bauer, because they might be able to, although you never know what they're going to decide to do. But as long as those guys continue to go out there every fifth day and do their thing, this is going to be a team that's not going to be going away anytime soon.
The way the starting pitching has gone. I mean, even the other night when Plutko pitched, okay, early on he looked like he had absolutely nothing to give, right? I mean, I was, you and I were texting, and this was the Thursday night,
right,
14-inning affair. In the first inning, Plutko looked like he wasn't going to get out of the first. The Royals scored 2. They were even the outs were loud, and it just didn't look like he was going to make it. And listen, I'm no Adam Plutko fan. He is a true fit starter. But after all of the crap that he had gone through, he pitched into the 6th and gave up just those 3 runs,
right,
2 of which came in the first inning. So, even with that, they got through. And Friday night's game, by the way, the bullpen was spectacular. Oliver Perez, Simber, Clippard, Whitgren, Brad Hand, Goody, and then A.J. Cole had to pitch the final inning where he almost blew that.
It was 1 in the morning, and this dude's just walking the ballpark. It's like, come on, man, you're killing me.
Let's talk about one other thing about that game. So, this was Thursday night, work night for you and I. I passed out in the 12th, and I get wake up in the morning from text to you, who made it all the way through.
Of course.
You are a sick man.
I can't go to sleep. I can't go to sleep not knowing if they won or lost. I can't remember the last time I did that. Like, there have been some times, like West Coast games, where
the West Coast games, you and I are usually texting at about 1.
It's late, and I can remember a game when Brian Shaw was pitching when I was checking my phone and just watching Gamecast or whatever, and that was about but I still knew if they won or I can't go to sleep not knowing if they didn't win or lose.
I made it that night to the 12th when we had the bases loaded and Bauer's. I was falling asleep, and I'm like, all right, bases loaded. I'm going to stick it out. Bauer's struck out. It was an awful at bat.
Oh, we left like 16 runners on base, and here's the thing. I'm on the MLB app going through the Royals depth chart going, all right, who else do they have left to pitch?
Well, Ian Kennedy had pitched like 4 days in a row.
Right. Kennedy was unavailable, and so this rookie, the right-hander, pitched 2 scoreless innings, but I didn't think they were going to bring it back out. And I look on the roster list, and I see Brian Flynn, and I'm like, oh, please bring this fucking guy. Please bring him in, because he spot started against the Tigers a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the last time the Tigers won a game. And so Flynn came in. I'm like, yes. And then it was Jose. So I knew we were okay. But then we scored 2, and then A.J. Cole came in.
But up until today, the starting pitching, this whole series was great. Plesac was money last Saturday night. He really was. And it was the night after the bullpen. Or was it Friday night?
Friday night, yeah, Friday.
But it was the night after everybody in their mother pitched except for Tyler Olson, and the team needed it the most, and he went 7 innings of giving up 1 run. And they had an 8-1 lead when he exited the game. He's been very good. Obviously, Bieber's been superb. Clevenger looks like he's finally back on track. I mean, he's still only made, I think, 6 total starts this year. Am I right?
I think it's got to be about right there. Yeah, he looked good last night.
He did, and one thing I think we are going to reap the benefits of. Hopefully, we win this division and reap the benefits of is the fact that last year in the playoffs, most of these guys, obviously we had the injuries, but these guys were burnt, and you're going to have a fresh Mike Clevenger who's only pitched 49 innings right now as we enter August. You're going to have a fresh Mike Clevenger, hopefully, and you hear great things, and we can ask Andre about this. We've heard great things about Kluber, no pain. He's going to be going out on a rehab assignment soon. We could have major league fresh arms coming off the, ready to go in October. So I'm excited. I really hope we get there. And just got a text from Andre that he landed, so he'll be joining us soon.
All right, let's talk about today. And yes, take today out of the equation because they've been playing really well. They've been catching the ball, timely hitting, moving runners, whatever it's been. Santana sits. He puts Freeman in the 3-hole. You scream and yell on Twitter. Freeman delivers RBI singles. Lester. So, but let's talk about today because, they did throw the baseball around the Jake Bauer's error, whatever, and then Mercado loses the ball in center. But Bauer, he was sick. Something was going on with him. He didn't have his best stuff. But then just a complete meltdown. Where, he gives up a couple of bleeders and whatever. Then with Tito coming to get him, he chucks the ball over the center field wall after he had chucked the ball behind home plate. And then Francona goes out to the mound and screams at him like, what the fuck are you doing? Or whatever. It was something that was affecting.
If you could read lips, if you read those lips on the clips that we saw, I believe he said it twice. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. And then he said, go sit down. And look,
he knew he was wrong right away. You could tell.
Right, and that's the thing. Is he a clown? Yes. Is he annoying sometimes? Sure. Do the other teams all hate him and the other team's fans all hate him? Sure. Was this a pile-on session today on social media? Of course. It's Trevor Bauer. But he owned it. He owned it after the game today, owned it during the game today, said it was immature, and hopefully I'm not ready to send him packing because of what happened today. And I'm seeing some of these tweets from Withers and Ossenheimer.
Okay.
Just so stupid. So stupid.
Right. First of all, Ossenheimer doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. That guy's a total buffoon. And I don't like to badmouth the media, but he's a clown and has been for years. Tom Withers tweeted, here's his tweet. Indians, we're not getting much action on the Bauer front. Maybe now they just give him away. My guess is he's been wearing on Francona and others for some time. Now, that is such garbage and so irresponsible. Give me a fucking break, okay? Was Bauer wrong? Was it a Bush League move what he did today?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Horrible.
Okay? But to say, and for him and Buster Olney is another one.
Right.
I gotta find it because lots and lots of industry speculation about how this incident affects Bauer's trade value. Ugly. Do you think that the Yankees and Astros are saying to themselves now, we don't want a guy who could potentially be a wipeout guy in October in our rotation because he threw the ball over center field and had a little bit of a temper tantrum, which was of course not. All this is leaking by other teams to the media, hoping the price gets driven down. So the Indians will give them away.
Yeah, you don't want Roberto. You don't want Roberto Alomar after he's spitting an umpire's face. I'll take him.
Yes,
I'll take him.
That is a great.
You don't want Aroldis Chapman. And sorry to bring this up, domestic abuse. Teams were still lining up for that 101 mile an hour fastball. Come on.
Who did the Astros trade for to close last year?
Yeah, Roberto Osuna.
After he'd been suspended for most of the season for beating his wife. Okay? The Astros traded for him. Give me a friggin' break.
This is business.
It absolutely is business. Now, getting back to Bauer, okay? He didn't have it today. He was clearly frustrated. I'm not condoning his behavior.
No.
But I like the one thing that he said in his apology, which I really liked, was he said, this is how I get myself. I usually use that passion and fire for good, but today it went the wrong way. And a lot of people, I don't know, but I'm assuming just because people are all nuts, will look at him and say, and who didn't see it, you really need to watch it, because I watched it live. He walked up to the group of reporters and said, before I answer any questions, this is what I want to say. And it wasn't scripted in any way. You remember Jason Vargas a couple months ago with the whole thing with that he threatened to beat the reporter up
and refused to apologize.
He was a total dick, and he gave some canned statement and walked away and was an asshole. Bauer was totally contrite. He knew he did wrong. Hopefully, the players, what Andre said during the broadcast, which is he went to them one by one in the locker room in the dugout and handled it properly. Hopefully they believed him and everything was fine. But I think that he handled it as good as he could in that apology. I think it's fine. My biggest problem with the whole thing, it has nothing to do with his trade value. This is an unneeded and unwanted distraction coming into the biggest 3-week stretch of the season. And now I guarantee you tomorrow on PTI, one of the top stories is going to be Trevor Bauer and throwing the ball, and you know it's coming up on first take and all that.
Well, and nobody is going to show the apology. Nobody's going to talk about what he did after the game. They're only going to show what Fox Sports Kansas City showed, and STO could have done a better job of covering this today. I'll be honest, because FS Kansas City showed everything. And even Hudler made the comments, oh, there's Tito. And, Rex is, he's a clown too. But all in all, Trevor's going to get raked over the coals for this. He's done his apology. But if he's getting off that plane right now thinking he's done, forget it. Don't go on your Twitter. Don't even look at social media. And don't even watch TV tomorrow, because tomorrow it's going to even get worse. By about Tuesday or Wednesday, when we get to the trade deadline, all will be forgotten. So if they want to trade him, they'll be suitors. If they don't, then he stays, and I have no issue with that. The problem with Bauer this year is his ERA is near 4, and we thought his ERA would be, just below 3, and that he would be up for the Cy Young, and he's not. So hopefully, after Wednesday, if he stays, he's focused on, all right, I'm staying, I know where I'm going to be, and he locks in and performs a little bit better. That's what my hope is.
I think that there's something to the fact that he he can say all he wants, and I saw in the interview, the momentum clip that he had about, the trade deadline and how it affects him, and hopefully he'll be here and all that. These guys can say all they want that these things don't affect him, but it has to mentally be in the back of his head that today might have been my last start as an Indian. I personally didn't, after his, not the Sunday start, but the last start against the Blue Jays. Was it the Blue Jays where he was so good?
Yeah, he got no run support.
Yeah. He was so good, and he left the game up 1-0. And at that day, that was when I declared the Indians will not be trading Trevor Bauer. They can't. If we're planning on getting to October and winning this division and doing damage, you're a better team with him than you are without him. I don't care who you're going to bring in that's a bat. The Indians are going to beat the Astros and the Yankees by out-pitching them, but not by out-hitting them. That's the only way that's going to happen, right? And if you go into October and your 3 starters are Bieber, Clevenger, and Plesac rather than Bauer, Bieber, and Clevenger, I have a hard time believing that you're a better team, no matter what kind of bat you're going to get. Unless they get completely overwhelmed, I still, in which I don't see it happening.
Right.
I think they hold him.
And weeks ago, we sat here and said, all right, you're going to trade Bauer for Yordan Alvarez. You're going to trade Bauer for Renfroe or Reyes from the Padres. And now you look up and you go, okay, can we keep Bauer, but we also can add a bat, whether it's a rental like Puig, Pence, Nick Castellanos, Domingo Santana had a big home run today. There are some right-handed bats, right-handed power bats, by the way, for all you Tribe fans that always want the RHPB, you can rent, whose price is coming down. And as you get closer to Wednesday at 4 o'clock, you hope that one of these general managers of these teams hands you this player. Lord knows the general manager in Detroit is clueless, and you might be able to steal Castellanos for a couple of months. Are you going to keep him here? Of course not. He's a Scott Boras guy now. He'll be long gone. But it's a right-handed batted DH that you can add in the middle of that lineup that is needed, and that's still a need on this team. No matter if the offense is waking up, Jose's waking up, Naquin's hitting 300 from the 9-hole, great. But that Greg Allen, Jake Bauers left field DH situation ain't so good. And
I'm 100% with you, and I think this is a good segue to move into the trade deadline targets that some of you mentioned. I got 4 names, and you mentioned 3 of them. So the top of my list, I would love to have Yasiel Puig. I think the swagger portion of it, the fun aspect of it, on top of the fact that he's a hell of a ball player, has the cannon for an arm, I would love to add him as a rental, and I think the fans would love him. Hunter Pence is having a fantastic season, though he's been hurt recently, made the All-Star team. He's on the older side, but the one thing you hear about Hunter Pence, which I think would bring him in and be a good addition, is that he's like an all-time great teammate.
Yeah, and a winner. How many titles did he win in San Francisco? He's a great winner.
Yes. And then you mentioned Castellanos. He's been raking lately, right? I mean, he's really been hitting
very hot. Not a power bat per se, but a guy that he leads the majors in doubles.
Yes, he does. And the fourth player is someone that you have been very high on, especially this week, and would like us to get from our old friend Ross Atkins in Toronto, which is Justin Smoke, who's a switch hitter who can play from first base.
Great guy.
And basically would basically take over the Bobby Bradley spot, if you want to call it that. DH, first base, can rotate in. So I think you got four really good options there. I do, and all of which are rentals. I looked up Smoke today because I wasn't sure of him, but he's a 1 year free agent. Yeah. At the end of the year.
What's Domingo Santana? Because he's done well with Seattle.
Yes, he's controllable. I know that.
Yeah.
Domingo Santana is young, and I will tell you.
I think it's one or two. I think it's 1 or 2 more years. I know he's had some injury issues this week. Scott Service didn't play him for most of this weekend, and then today in a 2-1 game against Detroit, he tied the game in the late innings for the Mariners. He's had a really good year. You never really hear his name because he's buried out in Seattle. He was buried in Milwaukee. He was a guy I wanted the Indians to trade for last year.
He was a guy, I believe, that was often mentioned as a straight-up deal for Danny Salazar before Danny was hurt. That was one I remember talking about. So Domingo Santana is arbitration eligible for the first time this year after this season. And so the earliest he can be a free agent is 2022.
Oh, yeah, so you got him for 3 more years.
Yep, and he's a perfect DH because he's a butcher in the outfield. It's funny. He's a butcher in the outfield. Castellanos is a butcher in the outfield. Pence's best days are behind him in the outfield, obviously. And then Smoke, is a first base DH type. So
the Puig
bats out there.
Yeah, the Puig thing, Todd, is interesting. Dery Brothers TribeCast, by the way, for a Sunday night. Tribe 2 back, the Twins. The wild horse, he's just, so there's sometimes I watch Puig and I see some Bauer in him in terms of how he acts. If a pitch is inside, he'll stare down the pitcher. That would be a guy that Tito would have to really, I'm not saying, reel in, but there would be some times where he would be more of a headache than, let's say, Pence or Smoke. Castellanos has been running his mouth all year. He wants out. He'll be a very motivated player wherever he goes. So that you take that into consideration, certainly. But again, it's also what these other teams want in return.
Well, I would say this, and Andre is ready, so we're going to call him in a minute. But I will say this about Puig: if there's any manager who can handle him, it's Tito. As much as we complain about Tito and sometimes in the lineup construction, and we'll talk with Andre about that. Nobody's better equipped at handling guys in the room than Tito is. So I think he'd be fine. He'd be the perfect guy to handle Yasiel Puig.
All right, let's talk to Andre Knott from STO, a sideline, on-field reporter. Has done a fantastic job many years at TAM as well in Cleveland. We'll do that next on the Dery Brothers TribeCast. All right, as promised from Sports Time Ohio, does a fantastic job covering the Indians on the sidelines, on the field, on-field reporter. Been for many years. Andre Knott, and also a co-host of the A to Z podcast. This is quite an honor. Andre, appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. This is an honor. You know what? The A to Z podcast is basically, without the bloodlines, what you guys are doing. I think it's so cool that you guys are doing it. I mean, I told you guys up from the very beginning, if I had a brother, if I had someone that was into sports the way I am, I'm jealous. That's what you guys do, and it's fun to listen to you guys do this. And that's not me kissing ass. That's just the absolute truth. And I can't stand Zach Jackson, so I guess we're brothers too. So the A to Z podcast works.
Oh, there's the laugh already. Hey, so what was today like? Take us in. You had to do a lot of grimy reporting. You had to kind of make sure that the guys in the truck had the shots of Bauer hugging Mercado and apologizing. What was that like today?
Oh, man. I text you guys back. I kind of chuckled. This is like, hey, it's getaway day. And it's like the unwritten rule of baseball that on getaway day, no matter how long you've been on the road, no matter how short you've been on the road, something will get in the way of making it an easy, simple day. And I can say in jest, this is just the Indians. This is just a game. I've had work. Put it this way: I thought at one point it was going to be one of the worst flights, the team flight I've been on, and I've been on some bad ones because I covered the Browns in the yachts or the 04 to 09 or 010, whatever it was. I went through some bad flights, but in all honesty, and I had to check myself, it's just another day of being with the Indians and being with Trevor Bauer. I don't think it's his last start as an Indian. I didn't think it was the last start of his inning going into the day. There's a lot of ups and downs, and there are a lot of things that come along with Trevor Bauer. Now, he's not a bad person. I think he just is a tough guy to figure things out sometimes. And I think, he apologized because he knew he had to apologize because he had enough people around him telling him immediately that he was off base and wrong. And really, it's the syndrome of Trevor Bauer. If you are a team out there that wants him, how willing are you to put him inside of a clubhouse and let him freely speak and freely be himself when sometimes he's going to say and do immature stuff?
It's very interesting because with your job, you work for STO, but you're basically working for the team as well. How do you balance the fine line because this is one of the things that Matt and I respect about you the most is there are so many, whether it's, play-by-play or sideline reporter or whatever it might be in every one of these sports, that is basically just a show for the team. Right. You do a great job of balancing honesty and good reporting and really being fair and balanced down the middle. How do you balance that?
It's hard. I'm going to be completely honest. But I try to be, and this is going to sound like kooky to say, I try to talk about these guys the way I'd want somebody to talk about me. I want to tell you guys the good stories about these people. I want you to know what motivates them, what got them here, the guys they looked up to. That's the stuff I wanted to know when I was a kid or as I went to college. But at the same time, I have a job as a reporter to report the facts of what's going on and not make things up. And I know when I have to say something tough about a guy, I literally think to myself, would I say this to his face? And a lot of times, because of this team, and I have to say this, I credit the Indians and I credit Sports Time Ohio and I credit Fox that no one has edited me. There's been very few times where I've gotten a call or a text from the team or from my bosses and said, hey, chill with that or be careful with that. They allow me to be me, and that's a big deal because when I was doing sideline for the Browns, I can tell you certain coaches that wanted to be some coaches in New England was so butthurt. I'm trying to not cuss. He's so butthurt.
We're fine.
He was so butthurt that people actually like talking to people that are around his team, and that he couldn't control it. It bothered him, and I haven't had that issue. And a lot of times, and today's the perfect example, guys. I mean, I heard Terry Francona yell and scream like I've never heard him yell and scream today. He knew that I wasn't going to put that on the air. I don't know if he knew or not if I was going to put that on the air. I know when we were interviewing Trevor Bauer after the game today, and I'll keep names out of it because it's not fair, but I had guys come up to me literally before and they go, I would switch checks with you today to hear the questions you're getting ready to ask. Like those guys really, they're human beings. And I guess there were guys laughing. They were laughing. Some were pissed. But they were like, go over there and do your job, and we want to watch. So as we're interviewing Trevor, I look behind me, and I see three guys that started today, all with their cell phones held down, and they're staring over there laughing. They're not laughing out loud, but smiling at me like, fix this, asshole. Like, how are you going to fix how we feel right now? What are you going to tell everybody about us? And they say that, and I tell that story because they know I'm not going to kill anybody. I'm just going to tell the truth. Dan Otero, and Dan Otero won't mind this. Dan Otero's on the injured list right now, trying to bounce back. He's wherever he's watching the game. And he's not the first guy that won't be at the park that'll be texting me, hey, ask this guy this, or hey, good luck with your interview tonight. What are you going to ask? Dan Otero was all over me as soon as it happened. He was like, there goes, this is going to be a shitty flight home. Have fun with this. Let me know. let me know. Like when Michael Brantley was hurt, he would text me and tell me crazy stuff or to watch certain things. I just think, to answer your question, I think it's simple. I've earned their trust. Simply, it's that far. But they know I'm not going to kiss their ass, and I tell them that. I would always tell them, I got a job to do, and I go, and you wouldn't like me and you wouldn't trust me if I half-assed it and lied or bullshitted about you guys. Right. And I think that's the best way to go about it.
Andre Knott with us here on the Dery Brothers TribeCast. Let me ask you this. So on Wednesday, if they don't trade him, will there be some guys in the room that are happy about that? Will there be some guys that are angry? What do you think the room and Tito and all the feel about Trevor Bauer's future?
I'll start with the clubhouse. They don't get it. They don't like it. They don't like what happened in the offseason, and they've been shoving it back to management all season long, and I think that's why you saw this team take off. If they trade Trevor Bauer and the team doesn't feel like they became better on Wednesday, it's going to be a group of 24 pissed off individuals, which may be a good thing and not be a good thing. I wouldn't mess with the tempo that's within the clubhouse, with the cookie news. They were going to come together one way or the other. For whatever reason, Tito's teams do that. But that obviously was a bond that brought these guys together of, we want to win for Cookie. We want to play well for Cookie. But as Jason Kipnis said, he wants to play good for himself. They want to play good as a group. I think Kipnis is one of those guys that I won't call him the leader of the team. Hell, he's had moments where we think he's immature, and things of that nature. But he's the one guy, when you look around the clubhouse, there's no Tomlin, there's no Brantley, there's no Gomes. This is a different team with a different identity. And for him to stand back, I've watched Jason Kipnis go from being best friends with Vinny Pastano to hanging out with Mike Clevenger, who Vinny Pastano was traded for. I watched him and Lonnie Chisenhall grow up, do everything together, to watching like him and Tyler Naquin now, kind of be the guys that go to lunch together or hang out together. I guess my point is guys like Kipnis and a couple of the older guys, and Dan Otero, they don't want any changes at all. They think they have, and I got to tell you guys this. They were saying this on May 13th, June 13th, July 13th. Bleep everybody else and everybody that's saying anything about us. We're going to catch the Twins, and it's going to be a hell of a run. And Dan Otero was the best. When we were 10.5 back, we were walking up in the clubhouse, and Otero says, he goes, I just told these guys, being back 10 games isn't shit. I was in Oakland up 10 games and didn't win, and we didn't win our division. And he goes, and I told our guys that. So if they trade him, they're prepared for it. It's going to be a backlash. It's going to be some pissed off individuals. And in a tongue-in-cheek type of way, there have been some games after wins where guys have said, we pissed off management tonight. They can't, they know they're 19 games over, and they know that the explanation is going to have to be pretty damn good to tell these guys that they need to go the opposite way. Now, in saying that, and I know everybody doesn't believe it, and I saw the tweets, and I love the guys. I saw the tweets that you guys had beforehand that I was coming on. I thought that the chances of Bauer getting traded today were him leaving 30%, him staying 70%. And I think I'll go to bed tonight saying it's 75, he stays, 25, he goes.
I've always been, since his last start against the Blue Jays on Tuesday, and showed how dominant he can be when he's all right, that there was no way you could say to yourself, and I don't care who they traded for, if he is traded off this team and you're basically going into October with, because you don't know about Gruber and certainly Carrasco, that you're a better team with Bauer, Bieber, and Clevenger than, Bieber, Clevenger, and Plesac.
For sure.
And the ultimate goal is to win the World Series here. And I think it would be basically shitting on the rest of these guys if you feel him. So
you would be. And the window, as you guys know this, and people, the window is only, and I hate the window talk, but the window talk is real. You only get it for so long. Look at Detroit. I mean, we left Detroit earlier this year. I was like, their pitching is so far away from, and I know you know this, their pitching is so far away from ever having any fun, actually enjoying a series or a game. Look at the White Sox haven't been trying to bounce back for how long? Look at Kansas City. Kansas City freaking plays hard. They actually have a decent lineup. Yeah. But when their bullpen comes in, we all sit there and we're like, here we go. It is hard, and I don't want to get into economics and everything else. You only get so many opportunities. And the rest of the AL Central should be screaming at Indians management right now. Don't do this unless we were 100%, because you just said it. If you go into a playoff series, look, I love everything that you've gotten from Bieber. The one thing I will always give Trevor, and I'll remember this, Fernandez came out. This is the first time, because Trevor's always been, and I can say anything about Trevor, because I know if he doesn't like it, he'll call and we'll talk about it, whatever else. I didn't gain the biggest respect for him until there was a Friday night. The Marlins were in town, and, oh my God, Fernandez, who's passed away now, was on the mound for the Marlins. And we were all kind of like, I remember being up in the booth, and we're like, well, that kid loves a Friday night. The Miami people were like, oh, he loves a Friday night game. He goes, hope you guys are ready. And I remember I said that to Bauer, and he goes, well, watch me fucking shove it up his ass. And he went out there that night, and he went about 8 innings, and I don't have the numbers. People can look it up. But he killed. And I remember Arch Manning, who hates everything and everybody, for the most part. I say that tongue-in-cheek. But he called me on the way home, and he goes, I can't use it. He goes, I'll take that bleep on my team anytime, any place, because he competes. He goes, he can be as weird and as crazy as he wants, but that's what I want on the mound when my life's on the line. And I think that's the conundrum that the Indians truly have. When it's time to compete, 9 times out of 10, there ain't a competitor in baseball like Trevor Bauer. The problem is you only get about 8 of those a year.
Yeah.
Andre Knott, go ahead, Todd.
Go ahead, Matty.
I was going to say, Andre Knott's with us from STO. Fantastic job today all over this Bauer stuff. All right, so, Andre, if you had to put your finger on why this team's kind of turned it around, you got into it, a lot of it, just now, but the Jose Ramirez resurgence, and I'm sure you were asked about this when you're out with your kids, your family, and getting a burger at Swenson's. What's the story with Jose, and why now the turnaround, do you think?
Jose is one of my favorite athletes I've ever covered. If I ever can totally relax him, I want to do a documentary on just everything about his life, where he's from, who he is. Because I don't think we're ever going to have the true full story. Just because the swagger that he's walking with right now, and I've always said this, is the cover-up of a guy that's shy, that's always been the runt, that's always been told he wasn't going to make it, and that's what carries him. And for whatever reason, he's so hard-headed and so shy, and it's hard to break him out of routines and out of just things. And how can you blame him? He went from a guy that no one thought was ever going to get drafted. He basically had to keep showing up and keep swinging a bat just to get drafted and get a chance. He'll never say this out loud, but Frankie Lindor, to me, is one of the biggest motivations of his entire life. And it fuels the Indians. They love each other like brothers. But Matt Underwood has always said this perfectly, and I totally agree. They're like the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers back in the way of Stallworth. And Len was the first-round pick out of USC. Pretty boy. Had all the endorsements, had all the good stuff, and John Stallworth was like the 16th round pick out of a small black college, who looked at him the whole time and was like, I can do all the same shit you can do, but everybody kisses your ass. I think all the way back to low A that Jose Ramirez has looked at Frankie as they all love him, and I can do all the same shit he can do, and I'm going to show you I can do that. I sell you all those stories that I just feel like, and I'll stand steadfast by this. I think the beginning of this year was overwhelming for him because now, and when we can talk physical part, because there's some physical stuff to it as well. But I think mentally, not having Frankie in the lineup, not having Kip around, just so many new things that were going on with this team at the time that I think he felt for the first time the pressure of, I got to fight to be the man, to, oh shit, I am the man. Does that make Edwin wasn't here anymore? Like, Edwin was huge for him. Mike Napoli was huge for him because as much as he wants to be the man, he loves sitting next to the man. I heard him, and I don't know if I told this story on my podcast, or I don't even know if I've told this story out loud. And I'll do it, and I can do it now. But when we went to Puerto Rico last season, it's the one odd time that 2 Major League Baseball teams are in the same hotel. And so the Twins were obviously playing the Indians. We're in Puerto Rico. We both fly in earlier than what was expected because Minnesota had gotten snowed out that previous weekend. We got our Sunday game snowed out, rained out, or whatever. So our planes kind of got moved up. We got to Puerto Rico before the Twins did. We're all in the bar, and it was kind of cool because there wasn't a lot of places to go. So all our families or friends. It was one of the coolest baseball things I've ever been around. And I've been able to be at the All-Star game and a couple World Series, things like that. But we're all in Puerto Rico, this 5-star, hotel and bar. And we're all sitting around the bar kind of talking, and families are meeting each other. And Frank and Jose is like in a T-shirt, regular pants. And the Twins come in. And they've got Sano, and they got some other Dominican guys. They got a couple Puerto Rican guys. And my wife is sitting there with me, and she's sitting there, and she's like, Jose is hilarious. I was like, I know. And I turned my head and I go, where'd he go? And she goes, I don't know. He walked out as soon as the Twins guys got here. I go, okay. And 5 minutes later, Jose comes back in with the best walk in baseball. But he's got like his Mr. T kit on. He's got like some probably $500 T-shirt. He's got the shoes with the studs and sparkles in them. And I'm like, Jose, what the fuck? But that's like his, like that's that. And I'm not mocking it. I think it's almost like I got to show these guys I'm the man. But the point of the story I want to get to is so like all the ball players kind of start, hanging out around each other. But they're still close enough that you can hear certain things. And Edwin is there, and Edwin's laughing and talking. And Jose, out of nowhere, goes, see, that's the problem. We need you to be a fucking leader. You should be leading us. And I, like, yelling at Edwin. But, like, jokingly, but it was real. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, his thing was kind of like, hey, man, I need you. I need you to show up and bust your ass. I need you. And I think that was hard for Jose this year. To look around, not see Edwin, not see Frankie. And it was like, and all of us, all of us were going, you can carry us, you can do it. I think mentally that was weighing on him. I think having a kid was weighing on him. And then physically, he couldn't get out of his own way with his hands. He couldn't pull his hands within. He wasn't being patient. But we've seen, and I kept saying to Zach Jackson, I go, I've seen this before with him. The first time he got called up, he got into a rut and couldn't get out of his own way. The second time he got called up, when he won the starting shortstop job over Frankie and pissed Frankie off. And Frankie's admitted he was pissed when they started that year with him at shortstop and he was back at AAA. Like, he was done, and that motivated Frankie to be who Frankie is. But I think that was Jose's thing. Physically, they tried so many things to get him to calm his hands down. His hands are the best thing he has going with him, and they can be his worst. And when they're relaxed like they are right now, and Tito has said this, and I know a lot of other people around the team feel like this. Frankie said his shit 2 months ago. Frankie said it 2 months ago when no one else thought it. He goes, we're going to be fine. He goes, because Jose is a 300 hitter, and I tell him every day he's a 300 hitter, and when he gets hot, we're going to kick everybody's ass. And it's exactly what's happening, and they think it's going to happen the rest of this. And Frankie told me, he goes, he gets, because just as long as he can be slumped, he can get hot that long, because his swing is very, and I think I did a thing last year about him using the toe tap and kind of raising his leg. His swing is very educational. It's very simple when it's right, and right now he's right. So, and to me, I love the week that's coming up. I know everybody's making it out that this is when, people's booty holes get tight, as I had somebody tell me. But there's a Ron Washington quote that I shouldn't tell, but I'll tell. But his quote was always, "You never know what the booty hole gonna do when it gets hot." And that's basically what we got going for the next 2 months, right? Look, the next 2 months are going to be great to me. And I thought last 2 years, one of the biggest problems has been the cruise of September. We're already in. Just get this over with. Let's hang. And then all of a sudden, the intensity of October comes, and you can't. And I know people say it, but it's true. You can't just hit the light. You can't hit the switch and just go, okay, we're good. They need this. This is for the betterment of the Indians. They need what's going to happen over the next 2 months. Because if they get through it the right way, I think it's going to be a fun October.
I couldn't agree.
That's my long-winded on Jose. I'm sorry.
No, I couldn't agree more. Well, on several things. But number one, the team since July 1st, you see what Jose's numbers look like, and the team's playing its best ball. It's not a coincidence. We talked about that earlier on the podcast. And this stretch coming up, I totally agree with you. Last year, the season was like a bore. It really was. I mean, they were up 10 games in the middle of May, and none of the other teams were even competing. So it was just like, wake me up,
right?
When we can line up the rotation in October, and we'll figure it out. And I think that really the season, I just think the season was just such a waste. The year before, when they had the 22-game winning streak, that you may disagree with me on this, because obviously you were there, but I feel like that 22-game winning streak, I mean, you can say it in hindsight now that they lost, but it totally blew their wad to her.
But remember your thought, because I want to say something. You're right. It did, but it did. Because they were up 2-0 in New York. And then we flew to New York and had an off day on a Saturday. All the families came in, and just the energy never came back. And maybe part of it was a 22-game win streak. But I got to tell you, during the wins, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I just got to say this to it. during that streak, I remember Tito saying to me one time, he was like, fuck, what am I supposed to do? Tell them to lose? Like, you get caught up in that, and then you don't really – it didn't take anything out of us. I'll never forget that 22-game win streak. It was so cool, but it made my job hard. It made our jobs hard. Like, you know what it's like going 3 weeks without losing and not having, like, any and we were kicking everybody's ass by 5 runs by the top 3-4 innings. Like, it was the weirdest paradox of baseball that I think we'll ever go through. I'll never forget it. And maybe they did peter out because of that, but I still say we lost our momentum when we got off that plane in New York that Friday night because after Frankie's grand slam. That's just me. And I think about those 2 days, the day of the 22nd win and the day that he hit that grand slam and we won game 2. And we all got on that plane and everybody was so cocky and we got smacked down and never got that momentum back.
Listen, I'll be the first one to tell you when I was at the game, obviously, with my wife and both my kids, and it's one of the great sports memories that I can share with my children because Frankie's grand slam, to be in that stadium, I mean, Matt and I were together for Rajay's homer. That was probably my second best moment in that stadium. But after that game, I remember specifically telling my wife and my kids, we're in the car, and I said, teams do not come back from devastating losses like that. There is no way they are going to beat us 3 times.
Right.
So, and I was wrong, obviously.
Well, here's the other part of that sucks. And this is just me. Game 4, I want to say, because I sit pretty close to the third baseman in Yankee Stadium, and I hate that place with the passion. And we can do a whole podcast on how much I hate there. Gio Urshela, who's having the year of his life, greatest kid ever. He really is a great kid. He had a ball that was hit to him with about an exit velo, about 110.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't snag it. And I remember thinking, that kid snags everything. We're fucked. and now he's there showing the world how great. I get so pissed when I get Yankees. I got friends, Yankees guys are like, this Urshela kid is gold glove. And I'm like, I told you that 3 years ago. But when he was doing it in Cleveland, everybody was like, oh, yeah, whatever. The kid's going to win. He's going to win multiple gold gloves. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm happy he's hit. But I wish he would have been here. And just shit happens because he and Eric Gonzalez are both guys that we could have used at the beginning of this season.
Oh my God!
Yeah, let's.
Those are those games that, and I talk about this all the time. Every one of these games counts the same, and you look back at the Moroff and Brad Miller and Stamen, and I can't.
Well, I have a fight with Anthony Lyman. If you know me, I call him Raj because he reminds me of. And you guys know Brown. Yes, he's the Roger Brown. Yeah, and I love him, and that's why I say his name. But him and I have had some text message wars over the last 3 weeks because he feels like him asking for Oscar Mercado changed the season, and I keep saying to him, "Come on, I love Oscar." And Oscar is going. And he's a beast.
He's a beast.
He's a beast. And Frankie is feeding him. Frankie is so what Michael Brantley did for Frankie. Frankie's doing for Oscar, and it's Oscar, and it's awesome. But this is for the Anthony Limans out there. I got to say this: the biggest issue that I have with the Indians' beginning of the season was not having a competent shortstop to play while Frankie was here, while Frankie was gone, and not having Kipnis. And I keep trying to tell Lima that. Like, I go, Lima, you keep bitching and moaning, going on the radio and tweeting about Mercado, and he should have been here. I'm going to be honest with you. Cargo should still be here, in my opinion, just because I know what he meant to the clubhouse, what he meant to Frankie, what he meant to Oscar, what he meant to so many young guys. Cargo is a real dude that's respected. Forget his – I know we get caught up in his swing and it's slow and this and that. Zach Meisel and I had this fight. The Cargo situation was screwed up, and it was because of a numbers game. But if we had a competent shortstop and someone to play in the middle, and no offense to anybody that played, because everybody tries their hardest, but that to me hurt the beginning of the season more than anything else.
It was terrible.
It was
terrible.
Yeah.
All right,
counts at the bottom of the order. Yeah.
Last thing for Andre because he's sick of talking Tribe after all day. But
I got one more after you.
We can do two.
One more. All right. I want to know what you think they need, and what do you think they're gonna do with the deadline, and what do they need to do on Wednesday?
I've talked to other players. They need another arm in the bullpen, maybe 2, and they did get one tonight. I don't know if that's the answer per se. But they've already got one because they know that they need it. They need one. I'm trying to find his name. I should have
Hunter Wood.
Hunter Wood. Right. Yeah. Hunter Wood. We've made enough trades with Tampa Bay, by the way, and that's tongue in cheek. Hopefully, we got the right guy here. And, you know, a right-handed hitter would be great. Well, will they do it? I don't know. I'm to the point where I just feel like this is the type of moves they're going to make. They've kind of said, and I don't like it, they've been steadfast in that they can't or won't spend money, and this isn't the podcast of time to have that conversation. But the team and how they played and what Tito's given to this team deserves for them to try a little bit and find the hitter that's out there that can help them. And I hope they do. I'll be honest with you guys, on Wednesday, if they get, and I don't even want to put a name to it, but if then I know there's certain guys out there and I know there's certain things, but if they can go get an arm, or maybe they have one, Kluber's coming fast, you're going to see Salazar, and I'm not joking, you're going to see Danny Salazar on the mound. You're going to see him this week.
Yeah.
You're going to see him at Progressive Field this week. I know he's only throwing 92, 93. As a couple of our scouts and guys told me, no, he hasn't been throwing 98, 99, but he's been pitching. And look, I'm not stamping my ticket or selling my ticket on Danny Salazar. But if he gives you another arm, and you just put all these arms together, and, you know, I was talking to Matt and Rick before the game today about this, and we don't know. But let's say they don't go out and get another arm, and let's say you get Kluber halfway decent in September or late August, mid-August. You get Salazar learning how to pitch, and suddenly you go with a rotation of something that looks like Bieber, Clevenger, Bauer, and I'm not putting an order. And then you still can have, maybe you put Plesac in the because Plesac's not going to throw a ton more innings, by the way. And I haven't been told an exact number, but they're not going to let him go over 145, 150 because he hasn't come close to that. Then they just drafted him, 3 years ago, coming off of Tommy John. But let's say you throw him in the bullpen come playoff time or come, October, September. Let's say you have Salazar in there, and he can go every 3 or 4 days. I just think there's a chance for this roster to change drastically just from what they have from within. And it could be pretty good if used the right way.
Yeah, I agree. I think the bat's got to be added because, like you just said, I think they have enough guys with those relief pitches, with the guys coming back from being hurt. Because Salazar right now, he's only maxing out at like 4 innings, right? I mean, he's three and a third and then 4. I mean, he seems like a perfect guy. Him and Plesac like a piggyback situation if you want to keep his arms down.
Right. I think Plesac would be nasty as you know what coming out. I like that kid. He's got balls.
Yes, he does. And that dive the other night was fantastic.
Ooh, that was sweet.
My last question. Were you talking directly to me on the air Saturday night about the Twitter idiots and Mike Freeman hitting third? Yes or no?
I would, number one, if I would call you an idiot, I would call you an idiot to your face first.
Thank you.
I was hoping you were.
I plead the fifth. No, but I got to say this, though. I only said something on Twitter to you because I love you. I just see, and I get it, because I used to do the same thing. And look, Tito is not perfect. He fucks up just as much or more than anybody else. But I have learned in my 6 years on this job, there have been plenty of days where I'm like, and look, I'll be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. On the way to the ball game, the broadcasting team, we drive in Kansas City. And we all said, can you believe this is the 3-4-5 of a team that's the one that's 18 games over? So you're not the only one.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's like you expect Andre to say to Jason Kipnis on the field after the game, Hiram Boyd said that you should be moved down to the 8th spot. And that would be unreal.
You know what? We kind of did this podcast. Zach and I kind of did this podcast talking about OBJ a couple of days ago. And we talked about social media. I got to tell you guys, how these players consume social media, it scares me a little bit because they really do. They get the line blurred between real media and because as fans, let's be honest. As fans, look, my dad's a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. I know the Cowboys in and out. I like the Browns. I'm just saying, as I'm a fan too. And there's times where I text in off season or I tweet something in off season. And it's like I want to have like that, have a padding of this isn't work Andre speaking. This is just fanatic Andre.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes, of course.
We should all have that, and I don't think our athletes can decipher in between. Like when I read that OBJ, and everybody doesn't have to agree with this. And this is me bagging on OBJ, But when I read that GQ story, I was just like, man, this dude has the world by the balls, and he's more worried about what people are tweeting about him or Instagramming about him because of the catch. That scares me because and I've had to tell Clev this. I've had to tell, like, Bieber, Clev, and I, and please, Zach, we're all sitting around. I was like, man, I get that there are assholes on Twitter, or there are people that go out too far. I go, but would you please believe if there's, if there's 50 million people on this planet, there's only like 5 grand that are on Twitter or Instagram. I go, and Bieber looked up, and Bieber goes, Andre's right. He goes, there's that. And some of these guys are in different places, but I'm telling you guys, we have an era of athlete that can be one of them. They worry way too much about what they see on their phone than what they hear and see when they go play every day. And maybe I do too. So I'll admit, maybe that was me, but it made for a nice quote, and I'm sure somebody will make a T-shirt out of it.
There you go. Because Lord knows we need more Cleveland T-shirts.
There's already a home run. We just landed. You know what I landed to? My wife sending me a picture of a home run pitch.
It's a great shirt. I saw it. Yeah, let's go Tribe people.
Yes, and then my buddy Greg from GB Artworks texted me a picture of so there's 2 before we even landed. Like my wife is texting me. She's like, "Well, I guess you guys can grab some new T-shirts next week."
$28 at Let's Go Tribe. It's that's a good one though.
Is the photo of Tito going, "What's your fucking problem?" That'll be the next one you'll see in the next 2 days. Yeah.
Hey, and I'll tell you what that was the nicest thing he said to Trevor in that 5-minute span.
Yeah, unbelievable.
All right, Dre. Well, keep up.
This just leads to a great. This is what the seasons are about. And this is why baseball. It really is. Everything's not perfect, and sometimes you got to air your dirty laundry out because that's how a kid acts, and you act out, it happens. But thank you guys. I'll come back on. Hopefully, this works out well for you.
Andre, it's a pleasure, man. We love you.
Fantastic. This was easily our best interview. We love having you. We'd love to have you again. And don't listen to Lima and his baseball takes, considering he's all of a sudden Mr. Baseball.
He is. He's into it. He's into it this year.
You notice that? He's really jumped in the last 6 weeks.
If you ask him, the show he's on that won't even put his fucking name in the open, change how baseball's talked about in Cleveland. Cleveland.
I hope Andy Roth is not listening.
I hope Andy Roth is listening because I actually like Andy a lot.
He's the best. He's the best.
They've done a great job at that station. They've changed the hierarchy of how sports talk is done in Cleveland. That doesn't mean it's all great. That doesn't mean I still don't hear stupid takes. But I appreciate what they've done and what they've brought into Cleveland. I wish we had more people on radio stations that were innovative and thought process enough to do more things and try different things. But it wasn't you, Lima. Stay on Instagram or wherever you find all those dates on the weekend.
Wow. All right, coming up next, we'll talk to Andre about Aaron Goldhammer. All right. Goodbye.
Later, boys.
There he is, Andre Knott from STO. Wow, that was fantastic. Andre Knott, Sports Time Ohio, and the Indians, of course, on TV, handling the sideline duties and the on-field reporting. Todd, that was hilarious. He's one of a kind. Great dude.
That was so much fun. We got so much great info there. I think I really hope everyone who listened, gleaned a lot of info from that because that was very enlightening. And, I think he's just so open and honest, and that's why he's great at his job, and you can tell why the players respect him. So awesome having Andre on. Hope we can do it again soon.
They do, and it's a tough job because you're right. You're either considered a homer or the players hate you if you're saying some things that are objective and maybe not over the top. And Andre knows how to balance that. I went through it for years doing the Pistons where guys could trust me with some stuff, but when they weren't playing well, you have to keep the personal stuff out of it. And it's tough, especially when you're taking phone calls or for Andre running into fans or talking to the fans on social media. That is for sure. He mentioned this, Todd, about, it's nut crunching time. We're getting into August, and the schedule isn't getting easier. I mean, it's hard not to get as easy as Kansas City, Toronto, and Detroit 50,000 times. But now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Houston, and then Mike Trout comes in next weekend. Verlander on Tuesday against Bieber. Pletko against Jose Urquidy, who's a rookie that is not great, right-hander. And then Thursday, Plesac against Garrett Cole. So Cole and Verlander, 2 of the next 3 days, should be interesting. And I hope they smash JV around, but dude's been pitching great, which is, he's been resurrected in Houston, not a surprise.
It wouldn't shock me, by the way, if they, with the off day tomorrow, they skip Plutko, moved up Plesac to Wednesday, and Clevenger to Thursday. Because really, listen, Plutko's done a decent enough job, but that's the guy I do not want facing Houston. I would rather have him facing the Angels, but that wouldn't surprise me one bit if you saw that. And like Andre said, you're going to see Danny Salazar at some point this week. So there's going to be some more roster moves coming up this week. Should be interesting. I will be down there, your boy, this week. We'll be at 5 of the next 6.
Oh, man.
Go fire up.
You got to do it. And I would go over the pitching matchups for the weekend against the Angels, but I can't name any of LA starters, and I looked all this up. And
Griffin Canning?
I don't know if we see him or not. I don't think we might see him Sunday, but their staff is just all young guys. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but give Brad Ausmus some credit because they're over 500. They're in a pretty good division. Yeah, he's done a decent job. But when you have Mike Trout, and that's the biggest thing when you go into a weekend series with the Angels is how many pitches does Mike Trout see? And I think they did a pretty good job this weekend against Soler up until today when Clippard gave up a bomb. But for the most part, they pitched Soler very carefully, and I'm sure they'll do the same with Trout. But the Angels are no slouch, and then you're talking about playing Texas, and Texas is decent. And then that big series at the Twins, the 4-gamer August 8th through the 11th. So. Yeah, schedule does get very, more difficult, but I like the swagger. I like the confidence they're playing with. The pen's been pretty good. I know we haven't even talked about Brad Hand today and how he's been a little bit iffy, but I like the fact that for the last couple of days he's been off and he won't pitch now until Tuesday. He's needed a little bit of a breather.
Yes, he has. We'll see what happens because now, like I said, with Salazar coming back and he's probably going to potentially slot into the pen or a piggyback situation. Otero he just had a setback, so you don't know about him. And then you got this Wood kid coming in, becomes an intriguing option. So, we'll see. The pen's been very solid. And to Andre's point, I still think you need one more true power arm back there. So, we'll see. Wednesday's the trade deadline. Also, birthday of the great Ryan Sturch. And
Roots.
Good news for you. Yes, good news for you. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, MLB Network, FS1. So you'll be able to watch a little national broadcast action of our games instead of watching, on your computer with the
HDMI cable. Today was rough. Today, I don't know what's going on. I had to do some rebooting in the house. It was a little iffy, but we made it through. So. All right, brother, that was good stuff. We got to thank Andre Knott for coming on, and, of course, the Center for Advanced Dentistry and Groove Ride for sponsoring us today. Todd, big week ahead, and hopefully we won't have to do any sort of emergency trade deadline podcast, and it's kind of quiet, but that they acquire, like Andre said, another right-handed bat, and who knows if they're going to go get a reliever. There's some guys expendable in that pen with Cole, and you know how I feel about Tyler Olson, so it may be time to add some more guys to an already solid group.
We can maybe half de-Tyler the team because Naquin is here to stay, baby.
He's not going anywhere. He's been great. All right, dude. You're the best.
All right. Thank you.
There it is. Dery Brothers TribeCast for another week. Thanks to Andre Knott from STO. We'll talk to you again next week.